And I want to take a cue from Angel Bishop Daniel Binim. I have two personal people here. Okay. So I have Member of Parliament for Ablekuma Central, Theophilus Tetechai is here, and I have Benjamin Kofiaye, who is also the Member of Parliament for Upper Dentra West, also here. Thanks for joining me, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And let's begin the issues and look at which of them we'll have to look at first. We know Nanado and the rest have been on the campaign trail, but we also know that MPs have been recalled to Parliament after recess, or as you are within the process of recess in itself. Why have you been recalled? I first would have to start with you, Theophilus Tetechai.
Well,
you still don't know the reason?
We don't know the reason. First of all, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers. It's very strange that
to be recalled is not strange.
Yeah. We've been summoned to the house just for a day's activity. We've gotten hints as to what the minority are interested in. For us, they are welcome. It is their constitutional right to go to Parliament and then exercise that constitutional right.
Mm-hmm.
But let me say that if it is the issue of the saga, that is this Ford expedition vehicle, if that is the reason, then that would be very, very sad.
Well,
in the sense that
are speculations there could be processes started for impeachment?
Well, that is their own cup of tea. But for me, I'm sad because, one, this issue is under investigation by a constitutionally mandated body, that is RAJ. Unless somebody tells me that this issue is not under any investigation. So for us to be in our various constituencies working, and then for the entire membership of Parliament to be brought back for an activity that the minority knows that we will not support because a constitutionally mandated body is investigating. I don't know, but maybe the nation has a lot of resources to spend, and they want to help the nation spend their resources. So for us, they are welcome. On Thursday, we will all be in Parliament, and we'll see actually what issue they have for us.
Well, Mr. Aye, speculatively, we spoke to the minority leader. He said, well, they took a decision based on an issue, but he cannot pinpoint and say that it's because of the impeachment process that could be started, etc. But it's being speculated in the media. If that is so, what will be the processes, supposing inherent in our laws, if we want to start an impeachment process against our president?
Well, thank you, and let me also express my morning message to your cherished viewers.
Thank you.
I'm even surprised my colleague has already started the blame game, yet he doesn't even know the reason for the recall. It's not the minority that is, and we don't even have the power to recall Parliament. It is the Speaker of Parliament that has issued a statement that we should come back to Parliament. In any case, even if we are going to sit for a day, there are several presidents. The two of us have been in Parliament for at least 3 terms or so.
He's been in Parliament for 2 terms.
Hey?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's my senior, so.
And there have been presidents several times where Parliament have been recalled just for maybe a day sitting or a couple of days sitting, and then we go back. So this will not be the first time. So why is he surprised? Why is he thinking that going back to Parliament for just a day or 2 sittings will be a waste of the taxpayers' resource or the nation's resource?
At stake?
What is the issue at stake? Maybe you are privy to the issue.
What you signed?
What we signed. We did not sign that yesterday. the members of parliament who signed that document to call for the impeachment of the president was not signed yesterday.
When was it
was
signed?
not signed 2 days ago.
When
it was
was it
signed when the parliament was still in session.
Before you went on recess?
And yes, before we went on recess. It is not the minority that decides the business of the House. We don't decide which items should be discussed at when and where.
Okay. But right now...
It is the business of the business committee.
But right now...
So if the business committee...
You have clarified it. A petition has been put together, signed, presented to the Speaker's office.
Yes.
And I think
it was up to the Speaker and the business committee to schedule...
logically, you would expect the Speaker to act.
Exactly.
No, yes. Ask him. There are instances, even though, for example, per our standing orders, if you file a question, within 2 weeks, the minister concerned is supposed to be summoned to the House for him to provide the answers. But there are several instances where either the Speaker will not admit the question at all, or sometimes it takes months or a couple of weeks before, depending on maybe the...
But we have a petition.
This one is different.
But we have a petition.
Yes.
Okay.
And the decision to...
And there's no precedent to us impeaching our president, is it?
I think so.
Okay.
So, but the decision to have discussed that during the normal session did not lie.
This one makes it very peculiar.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, we're talking about the date and the waste of nation's resources by the recall. And I'm trying to say that
you're
once
being
it was
recalled
submitted...
for a day, Honorable, you're being recalled for a day. And so
I can't tell.
If speculatively, let's say we're looking at a scenario where there would be impeachment processes started, how would it begin?
Well, I haven't actually addressed my mind to that. Okay. I'm not a legal person, but what I know is a petition has been, if a petition is sent to the Speaker has recalled Parliament and due processes will be followed. If that is why we are...
He knows what needs to be done. First, they need to file a motion. Exactly. You are more...
I said that has been done.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so
tell us what you...
So they need to file a motion.
My former chief whip.
No, that's okay.
That has been done. So go ahead and tell us.
So he said he hasn't addressed it. I think it's in order. It's in order.
So definitely, if that is the issue, they will file a motion. Okay. Now, if that motion is filed and there is a counter motion, which is also filed, then I think what Speaker will do is to look at the numbers, and that determines
before
direction.
That is admitted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before what?
Why do you need the 2/3?
That is when there is a counter.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is when, at the point of making decision.
Exactly.
Okay.
But by the time we get to that point, we might have gone through a lot of processes.
All right. You mean before the plenary? That's where you finally. When you get to the plenary, that's where you get to the 2/3 decision making.
Everything will be done there.
Okay.
Yeah.
No committee will be formed?
No.
Because once you have a motion...
No. Unless it passes that stage where there is an agreement.
Okay.
Right?
So if there's an agreement from both sides of the House.
That is in support of the motion.
In support of the motion.
Then a committee can be formed.
Right. I've heard, Honourable Aye, that this is speculatively a waste of Parliament's time. Especially if it's going to speculatively again border on the subject of impeachment of the president.
Well, it's unfortunate we seem to be dwelling on speculations. But again, as I said earlier on, the decision to recall Parliament was that of the Speaker.
Okay.
Even if this is the issue we're going to discuss, the petition was not submitted to Speaker after the rise of Parliament. It was submitted to the Speaker while Parliament was still in session. So it behoved on the Speaker, and for that matter, the Business Committee of Parliament, to have either scheduled the discussion while Parliament was in session, or to just decide, okay, fine, we can go on holiday a couple of weeks afterwards, we will recall Parliament too. So if the state's resources is going to be, in quote, wasted, which I don't believe so anyway, it was a decision of Parliament too.
So let's say your constituency is Upper Dintra West.
Yeah.
Okay, that's in the Eastern region? Central region.
Yes.
And it also means that if, let's say, you were coming from the constituency, you have to be giving some reimbursed fuel back, so to speak. But you have to give in some allowance. It's not free.
What is not free? It's part of our jobs.
Okay, it's okay.
It's part of our job. Wherever we are, we have to put Parliament.
No, he's just alluded to it. There is no free.
Sure. Well, there's another story we have to look at. and this one is more legal than anything, but also borders on the subject of the contempt of court's decision that was made by the Supreme Court, leading to the incarceration of 3 people for contempt of the court in itself. Following that, the president also took a decision on the advice of the Council of State to remit their sentences. That's the rest of their sentences. But a private legal practitioner, Alfred Tuayeboa, says he's not only seeking an interpretation of Article 72 by putting together a petition before the court as the basis for the presidential remission, but he is also seeking consequential orders, which, if granted, will see the 3 finish their 4-month jail term. Now, what do you make of this whole scenario? It seems a story that's going back and forth. Well, we've had some legal interpretation themselves, but your own mind, so to speak.
Well, personally, I think we have interesting times ahead. I've listened to different schools of thought from even the legal guys themselves, and you see they seems to be giving all kinds of interpretations to what has happened. It's good. Somebody is heading to is it the same Supreme Court there again for the appropriate definitions of what and that's why I think we have interesting times ahead, especially when the case appears to involve the Supreme Court themselves, and now they are going to do the interpretations of what should have been done. But in any case, that is what the law says. So it's good we are testing the law, we're growing them as far as our democracy is concerned. But personally, I believe the president shouldn't have, or to begin with, we shouldn't even have gotten to this stage at all. I don't see why people take upon themselves to go to studios and then, instead of addressing issues, rather tend to attack personalities. You see, people should be disciplined enough to know that, yes, you may have the platform, you may have the whatever, but what do you really gain by attacking personalities? I don't know when we got to this stage where every Ghanaian or some people think you can just get up, insult people, insult whatever, and then get away with it and feel proud, can hit their chest and say, yes, I am the guy who insulted this person or insulted that person. You see, it looks like, unfortunately, we're glorifying such people these days. And so for the president, if some of such people, especially these Muntie guys, if we have to narrow it down to these guys, this station has been running down personalities in this country for a couple of months now. People look unconcerned. For example, MPP had cause to send them to media commission. I'm told 3 occasions that they were invited, they didn't turn up. These guys were attacking reverend ministers in this country, chiefs and football stars and what have you, because perhaps they didn't have that authority to perhaps deal with them. They thought they can do their own thing. Fortunately or unfortunately for them, they stepped on the wrong toe this time around, and they had to be disciplined. The president, per a school of thought that's according to these legal guys, had the right or constitutional right to do what he did. But that is where you ask, yes, the president, you had that right to perhaps free these guys, but you had, that is legally speaking, you had the right to free these guys, but was it really right? What kind of signal was the president sending down there that you can go ahead and do those things as far as you have the support of the executive or the support of the president? More especially when this guy had earlier on stated that this Mugabe, he has stated on air that he came here, he was in the UK, he came down purposely to do the bit of the president. And truly too, when he was found on the wrong side of the law, the president came to his rescue. What kind of signal is the president sending out there? You see, that's why I believe if all of us will be disciplined, you can discuss the issues, you can attack a person's competencies or whatever without attacking his personality. You see, that's why sometimes when we just set platforms, we can attack the competence or otherwise of the president without necessarily attacking his person. If we're able to draw that line, it will be well for all of us. But unfortunately, these days, it becomes the order of the day that you just attack the personalities instead of the issues.
Mr. Tatachai, beyond it becoming a legal issue, it's also more like the blame game on the president being more of a moral issue, whether what he did will set the right precedent and was a very good example into the future.
Thank you very much. If you don't want me to go into the legal aspect, let's look at the moral issues.
No, you can go into them, but try and address this one.
Well, first of all, I will say that individuals in this country has the right to test any aspect of our constitution that they find difficult to understand. And it is up to the Supreme Court to interpret that particular section to the fullest. And that becomes the law. So if the president has taken a decision that clearly has been mandated by the Constitution that he can exercise, and somebody thinks that mandate was not exercised the way it should, why not? That is why we have the courts. But for me, I've always said that, you see, anytime we come out to criticize, we should be very, very objective and take out political connotations. And that makes our discussions accepted. But the moment we bring in politics, then the whole thing will be tinted with politics, and then the essence or the value that we all want to achieve out of it goes away. For me, I would say that this is not the first time His Excellency the President has used the powers invested to him by our Constitution in that manner. The scenarios may be different. I quite remember one scenario that this thing was exercised was the case of G-Man. He was convicted
for murder,
life imprisonment, but later compassion, and he was released. I quite remember almost every year, His Excellency
was
the
one
President,
that we had a former MP.
Yeah, exercises that right. Now, most of these people that are taken out, most often are people who have committed maybe second-degree felony, and in some cases first-degree felony. Now, let's ask ourselves, in the case of these three gentlemen, was it a different thing that cannot be pardoned? No. Even areas where even somebody who entered into our legislature on a false pretense, which was a state crime, was pardoned.
Well,
on compassionate basis.
On health grounds.
Compassion.
Compassion. Health grounds.
No. Compassion.
Health
because
grounds.
Look, it is the compassion that will drive you to exercise that right. Okay. So for me, we are in the political season and all these things will be tinted with politics. But nobody should say that His Excellency the President did not exercise the mandate assigned to him by the Constitution. He went through the process. In fact, he could have taken the decision on his own, but he didn't. He allowed the institution that is supposed to advise him, because this was an issue that he needed some form of guidance. The how do you call them? The State Council of State member has come out to air their side of the issue. That yes, they took that decision because they felt there was the need for them to give some form of, how do you call it, a reduction in terms of the sentence. This is not a case where somebody has been sentenced by a judge and then immediately the president says, no, we are not going to take your judgment. This is a case that they have served 1 month of their term. They've paid sums of money almost amounting to, how much was it? About 30,000 Ghana cedis. These are all forms of punishment. And even, they were not pardoned, where even the crime that they've committed will be written off.
They still have the tag.
Exactly. So we need to show some
compassion.
Not even compassion, but we need to respect the decision.
And that's
of the
what the president did.
And look at the caution that even followed the decision that was taken.
Do you think the president set a very good example morally?
What can you do at that level? What can you do?
Do you think the president set a very good example morally?
For me, yes. Yes.
That when somebody goes on radio and does that, is prosecuted for contempt?
No. You see,
anybody who is a head of state can easily
look at the genesis of all these problems. When they committed that offense, the government came out and condemned that act. It was published in the newspapers. Various civil society groups, religious groups, people came out to condemn and said that, look, people need to be punished for that sort of behavior when we come on the airwaves. Okay? Now, when the punishment was administered, what happened? People came out to say the punishment was too harsh, to the extent that various individuals came to plead with His Excellency the President to have some mercy. I quite remember our chiefs, that is in the Greater Accra region, held a press conference.
Depends on which side, because there were two sides of the chieftaincy divide.
Please, I don't want to
the other side
there.
said,
please. The most important thing is the chiefs came out to appeal to His Excellency.
I can mention the other faction of the okay, I shouldn't. I won't. There were two chieftaincy sides that took different positions. They one to the other side, one to the other side.
No.
So you didn't hear the other side?
No.
Because
it was only one press conference. I didn't hear any two press conferences that were made. One press conference. And
all right, go on to
press conference sought to condemn what they did, supported punishment, but they also disagreed with the level of punishment. And all these people petitioned the president to actually look into this matter. Upon receiving the petition, the president did not act on his own. He could have done that. You see, but as a leader who always broadly consults, gave the opportunity to the Council of State to also look at it. And per the Council of State report, they supported the view that the punishment should be what? Reduced. So you see a president that is following the rule of law. Yes, he's done that. Others feel that the law was circumvented or it was not properly followed. So the only institution that can remedy or affirm what His Excellency has done is still the Supreme Court.
So that's why the lawyer is there.
Yeah.
But now we have come to the substantive. The thing is, if this is the decision that the president took, and the Constitution mandates him to do that, and the Supreme Court has also finished with the court or the case in itself has sentenced these corporates, so to speak, then the Supreme Court seemed to have washed its hands of the case. And the Constitution also mandates the president to take the decision. So if you go back even to the court, the Supreme Court necessarily may not have an interest in the case again, because it's finished, it's dealt with it.
I don't think so. They may have. That's why I said we have interesting times ahead. The only body mandated or that has the power to interpret the Constitution is the Supreme Court.
Well, sure.
So if the president claimed to have relied on a clause in the Constitution to have acted the way he did, and somebody, in this case, this lawyer, feels that the president got it wrong by the way he applied the clause in the Constitution, then again, Supreme Court has to come back to interpret for all of us as to whether the president appropriately applied that particular clause or not. Yeah. So depending on how the Supreme Court interprets the application of that particular clause, these guys may perhaps find their way back into the prisons, or they may go.
And we know this has assumed a certain political dimension. So, but let's look at the next issue. A political analyst has offered his diagnosis of the current state of promises being given by the political parties in the run-up to elections in Ghana, blaming the canker on lack of respect for voters. Joe Jackson says political party leaders have a deep-seated mentality that electors will not interrogate these outrageous promises. And we've seen some of them. I have to start with you. What do you make of his comments in the first place before we look at the promises currently ongoing?
You will start with me. You said me?
Sure, you.
Okay. Well, I think the man has also expressed his views. You see, he's just expressed his views. He's one of the 25 million people out there who, whenever issues come up, may say this or...
He's a political scientist.
Yes, it doesn't make him an authority in anything here. You see,
I get your point.
Look, in this world, your greatest challenge is not who you are or what you are, but what you think you are not. These self-limitations we keep, imposing on ourselves is one of the main reasons why, as a country, we can't develop, or even as an individual, where you cannot reach your height. You see, because sometimes before you even take the first step, you tell yourself, can I do this? I'm not capable of doing this. I'm not capable of doing that, without even taking the first step. Perhaps that's how this man has also grown to become. Great minds are always discussing ideas. When they throw out those ideas there, that is what leadership is all about. It's not about this, what little minds do by discussing personalities. You throw out the idea out there, then as a leader, you bring the necessary resources, both human and capital resources, behind your idea to make sure that you achieve it. When the American president said he's going to land man on the moon, I'm not sure he knew how, but it was his vision. But
he had been working towards it.
It was his vision. So that's why I said after having the vision, exactly, that's what I said. So after the vision, then you align the right resources, both human, in this case the scientists.
So you're saying you dream about it first?
Exactly.
And then you work towards it?
You work towards it.
Yeah, almost like the way entrepreneurship is.
Exactly. That is what leadership is all about. Leadership is different from management. If it's about just, we give you 100 Ghana cedis, you say, okay, I will use 10 cedis to buy phones, I will use 10 cedis to build school, I will do this. That is just managing the resources available. That one, every person can do that. But a good leader, you dream big, you have the vision, and then you align the resources behind the vision to accomplish it. The resources here, first the human capital, and then, of course, the cash or the financial requirements. So if it's somebody you want to land on the moon, you bring the scientists, and then the capital, that is the cash they need, you make it available to them. They do the appropriate research, and then you achieve your aim. Years back, who thought about these mobile phones that I can communicate with my constituency secretary down there in Upper Denshire
without
West,
seeing him?
Without seeing him. Without any wires connecting from one point to the other. And today, the person cannot just hear me, he can even see my picture live on either this email or by these video calls. It was somebody's dream. But little minds would have challenged that person at the time when the person said, I can bring up a device that you just hold yours here, I hold mine somewhere, wherever, and you can see my picture, you can communicate.
Well, you said this for a long time. And so that
yes.
that also...
So this is exactly what is happening here.
Into the promises that are being given left, right, center.
It's not fine, you can call it that. But do the people need those things we're talking about? Is there a vacuum to be filled? If we are going to continue doing things the old way of doing things, we will remain where we are now. We've done what we have been doing for all these years, and we still have that level of poverty up there. And somebody has identified, for example, if I'm to come to this one dam, one village issue, that others in India and even our neighbors, Burkina Faso, have tried it. It's worked. And now Ghana, we are importing tomato from Upper Burkina Faso.
They used to be called Pavol.
Yes.
It's Burkina Faso.
Yes. You know, we are the old guys. So we say
yeah, you and I, we're old. We're not up to your age, but...
you are a small boy. You know, and now we are importing tomato from Burkina Faso,
That's right.
where the climate conditions is worse than that of our 3 northern regions. So if somebody says we can replicate that in our own country, then others say, hey, that is not feasible. Perhaps their understanding of what a dam is what is causing maybe the difficulty or the
your
challenge.
Explanation of what a dam is
making us... What is a dam? What is a dam? To begin with, what is a dam?
I can Google it.
Yes, if you talk about a dam, are we talking about just the Bui Dam size or the Akusumo Dam size, or what is it? Check it for us. My understanding, a dam, especially for this purpose, since we know we are not going to generate power with it, is where we're going to collect water.
But it's not borehole.
It's a barrier constructed to hold back water and raise its level, forming a reservoir used to generate electricity or supply water for agriculture, etc.
That's all.
But it says you build a dam across a river, a lake, or a water body.
Yes.
Some of the areas
that is the conventional ones. That is why I'm talking about technology.
And vision.
And vision.
Okay. Please conclude on your technology and vision.
Right here in Teshi, we are now, we've converted the seawater.
We're desalinating.
Thanks for the right word. So we're drinking it. Years back, who thought we could do that? So if you talk about constructing dams across rivers, do you still have to say because there's no river there we can't do that? When technology can tell you that you can dig borehole to extract water and then store it
Honorable
and make it available for the farmers to use.
That's you just hold on. The speed at which you are going, I don't think. Now, I agree perfectly with the subject of vision because I work with an entrepreneur now, and sometimes the thing they think about, we the ordinary people don't think about, but also tends to imbibe in us the need to have vision, etc. And those who are visionary, they think of the unthinkable. I'm sure in Nkrumah at the time, he wanted to dam the Volta River or lake. Everybody thought he was crazy.
Each and every human being, in one way or the other, has a vision. But then, vision is actually attainable. When one, you can measure it. One, you can assign time to it, and then you can assign costs. Because these are not things that are going to be done.
Building factories and dams,
these are not
measurable. They are attainable.
These are not things that is going to be done in a vacuum. Okay? In the last year's elections, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, as one of his campaign pledges, whilst the NPP was preaching free SAH, we said we were going to look at infrastructure at the senior secondary school level. And our vision at that time was to build 200 senior high schools. Okay? Now, when I talk of measurability or the timeliness, let me take the timeliness. As a president, you are assigned 4 years. Is that okay? So although we said 200 schools was our target, we had in mind that you were going to serve your first term in office as what? 4 years. Is that okay? Now, the first 4 years of His Excellency the President is coming to an end. Is that okay? His vision of ensuring that senior high schools will be raised up in the country is ongoing. But have we been able to attain that number that we wanted to attain? No. You see? So, it means, therefore, that as politicians, whilst making promises, we should be mindful of the fact that, one, you have a limited period to serve. And therefore, if it were to be me, if I want to even build irrigation...
So you're saying we should be measured in what?
You see, we should be... what we say should be something that can be measured, can be attained within the space of time that you are going to.
If you can build 200 schools and you say that you're almost on the way, why can't common dams be built?
No.
And even these have also got some reflection on how we improve our agriculture in that part of the country.
What I'm saying
very simple.
What I'm saying is that if I say that I'm going to, let's say, build, let's say, irrigation dams in all the districts in the country. No, let me say districts.
Okay. The dams are supposed to be in every village.
No, you wait. I'm putting mine across. If I say every district, then the number is limited. Okay? But if I say every village, and today, after Nana Akufo-Addo telling everybody that one dam, one village, you see what the communication people around him are now saying. Some are saying the dam he meant to say boreholes. But you ask yourself, can we use boreholes to irrigate farms?
Why not? Why not?
No.
Why not?
You cannot use a borehole to irrigate a farm.
You mean large-scale farms?
You can't.
But you can use it to small acreages of farms. You can.
Look. Even.
Go look at these people who are planting this cabbage. Is it cabbages
How
around?
How much water will come out?
Have you seen these guys who are making cabbages around?
No. But that is just.
What are they doing? Are they farming or they are doing what?
Look, you are talking of serious agri business. Okay. Even the dams. You know, you pose a very significant question. That look, even the dams in the north, the dams that we have even constructed goes dry.
Why?
Because dams normally are supposed to be built
normally
over waterway.
Yes.
It's in the dictionary.
Normally.
Yes.
So that's why that is where the difference comes in. That's where visionary leadership comes in. If you are going to rely on the normal God, rain-fed agriculture.
So this one is
I
mean, par excellence.
You should think outside the box.
Please allow me.
We should go outside the box.
He's making a point.
Allow me, please. He knows what he's doing. You see, in the north, the dams that have even been constructed on waterways goes dry.
Sometimes. Yeah.
You see, what I think that we need to do as a country, if you go to Israel, what have they done to ensure that irrigation becomes a tool for agri production? The only source of water that they have, that's the Sea of Galilee. They've constructed pipes. And it's just like the way Ghana Water has extended pipe networks all over the country. Yes. And it makes agric very sustainable. You see, for me,
that looks more like the vision, the Israeli vision.
That is a vision from somebody.
But this is
that
sustainable.
He could pipe the Galilee River across the entire country.
I'm saying
if he had come up with that idea here, these guys were going to say, no, you can't do it.
Mr. Aye, do you think that the political parties, it's an indictment on them with the level of promises they're making? Just it seems to be just indiscriminate, as if that the parties just want to beat each other at it.
No, I don't think so. You see, I believe that the time has come for people to think outside the box and forget about this is the way we've been doing it. This is how our grandparents did it, so we should also
that's
continue.
why Nana is also on that very trajectory.
That's why he is thinking outside the box. And
it's also promising.
NDC, as my brother himself has admitted here, even the 200 secondary schools they promised to, they were going to build, they've commissioned only 9. That is why they think we too cannot deliver. Look, the fact that your car is stuck in that mud there doesn't mean my car will also get stuck there. For all you know, I have a 4-wheel drive that can drive me through that mud. You see, that is the difference between the two parties. In your case, you now have the power. You have the resources. Look, those schools, the 200, I think, is it 123 or 100 or half of them is outside.
No,
it's foreign funded. No, I mean foreign funded.
Of completion.
It's foreign funded. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm
not talking about the stages. No, I said about half. About half of that. So the other half.
I think it's 23 that's foreign funded.
Okay. So let's say, even if it is the whole 200, on the average, per the documents they brought to Parliament, on the average, each was going to cost around 5 million Ghana cedis. 5 million times 200 would have given us, 1 billion, right? If it was really their priority, ask them how much they've sunk into payment of judgment debt, dubious judgment debt.
No.
They've paid over a billion. Billion. They've paid over $1 billion dubious judgment debt. If really education was their priority and the president was visionary enough and wanted to achieve, because it was achievable, it was measurable, as he said. They've measured it. It was going to cost about 5 million per school.
So are you saying that? So you're saying the promises you parties are giving
in our case. In our case, we will put our money where our heart is.
Sustainable.
Nana says instead of using the money to buy land cruisers for chiefs, instead of using the money to pay dubious judgment debts, he's going to cut out all that corruption, and that money will go
Do
into
we
the
need the
sinking
parties
of
to be cutting down the promises? Because you want to outdo each other, you seem to be over-promising. For example, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in the last election said, free SHS education, and you wanted to beat him, so you said, oh, progressively free, additionally 200 schools. You haven't finished building the schools.
They couldn't do
that
it.
Shows.
What shows?
That shows.
One-time premium, they couldn't do it.
Allow me.
No,
that shows.
That one died long.
That shows.
It died
they were not being realistic.
You were not all day.
Please.
Why are you
that shows they are not being realistic.
You know the reason why?
No, tell me.
Before you set up that system, you need the infrastructure to even for the students to even access. Okay. Now, if you say it is free, okay, and children cannot have access, what is the essence?
If there are no roads,
if there are no, the school buildings,
there are no books, or the buildings are not available.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that is why Ghanaians accepted our policy of progressively free, which means you do the right things, and when those things are in order, then you introduce. Do
you think the NDC you've learned lessons, so you're not promising as much as you were doing in?
Wait, our manifesto will be out, and you will see that it is measurable, attainable,
Member of Parliament for Ablekuma Central, giving me the SMART principles or vision. Thank you. And then also I have Benjamin Kofiaye, Member of Parliament for Upper Dintra West, also in the studio. They've been recalled Thursday to appear before the House once again. We'll see how that goes with them.